Yeah, I'm not sure about I have the wealth of like knowledge of Selenium, but I've been here like I've been in the industry for a while. So I started as a QA analyst. So we were using a commercial tool. I don't know if you guys know. It's called QTP, Quick Test Pro. So it used the VB script. So that's how I start the journey. But later on, the company who developed that is called Mercury Interactive, Inc. Inc. So later on, they've been acquired or bought by HP Enterprise. Then I don't know, they renamed that to be, if I remember correctly, it's called UTF. I think it stands for Unified Test Foundation or something like. Oh, Unified Functional Test. Yeah. So I don't know why they picked that UTF, so that's how I started. So after that, I got exposed to Selenium, the open source, and the PHP, the LAMP stack. After that, it's Ruby. So we use a gem or library. It's called Water WebDriver. So basically, it's the the Selenium. The history of that is their first version, Selenium 1, is I think it was called Remote RC. It's kind of like a remote server, proxy server. Then the second version, which is pretty much just WebDriver, it's called Selenium 2. So PHP is Selenium, then Ruby, Water WebDriver. So after that, pretty much just got exposed to Node.js. My dev manager, he used to be an ASP.NET guy. Then he fell in love with Node.js, and he wanted to unify the technology, like front end, back end, testing, and develop. So he just wanted to use one technology, which is Node.js. So then I had to learn, Node.js because before that, I came from Ruby world. So it took me. I was struggling for the callback hell and later on the promise. I struggle a little bit. Then later on, I kind of gradually, get comfortable with this language. Now, that was 2014, and now, fast forward to 2019, I love this, technology because, you can do, because Node.js is server side, backend, then the front end, of course, is, it's all JavaScript, CSS, HTML. So you just need to learn one language, you can handle both. Of course, as I talked to Joshua before this talk, Node.js has a limitation. So one of them is being, if your app is dealing with intensive I/O, then probably Node.js is not the right tool. So I think that's enough for me. So so where I work at a super tiny startup. So we're in the biotech or pharmaceutical. So we only have one cloud-based web app. That's our only one product. Initially, it was developed in Meteor. I don't know if you guys heard of this. I didn't hear this. I didn't know this before I joined this company, because you heard Angular. I was like before that we were using Ember.js as a front end. And of course, I heard we were transitioning to React. And of course, you heard about Vue.js, but never heard of a Meteor. It has its own strengths or pros and cons. But nowadays everybody is like doing React. Even I think the reason for you guys to show up is because I kind of like threw the React, the keyword there, then immediately, according to Tristan's, within 24 hours, like 30 people sign up. So it got a lot of attention. Okay, sorry.
Going on, if you just wanted to speak a little bit louder.
Okay.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Okay, so this is a little bit about me. So this is my tool stack. I use a framework. It's open source called WebDriver.io. So that's the logo, JavaScript, Node.js. So this is their tagline. Oh, sorry. So before I use Selenium standalone, it's a service. So basically, it can handle, out of a box, it can handle multiple browsers, Chrome, Firefox, and I don't think it's Safari, but IE and IE and Edge, I think. So nowadays, I kind of like, because I was tasked for developing a smoke test suite for our developers. Developer, they don't want, they want a limited, smallest footprint. Like they want the effort-free, out of a box kind of solution because we're asking them to run the smoke test before they put out a PR. So that's why, because for Selenium you have to install Java, so that's like an actual step, actual tool. So then our app only supports like Chrome. So kind of like maybe I'm lucky, so we're lucky. So I just need to run or test the end-to-end regression, integration test, functional test, UI test in Chrome. So I just need the service, the Chrome driver service. The service is just it takes care of download the driver binary, the Chrome driver binary, and start it off. So I have I want this to be a little bit interactive. So I have a question. If you answer that correctly first, then you get a swag. Right, yeah. So does anyone know how the word Selenium came about?
Don't shout it out. Raise your hand.
Not the chemical elements and then. Okay.
First one. All right. Okay.
So I think it was called because, as you mentioned before, there was a company called Mercury Interactive, which made this commercial tool. And they named it Selenium because of some chemical reason that I don't understand. But that's why, it was some sort of rivalry between Mercury and Selenium.
Mm-hmm. I think pretty much, yeah. So this guy,
good work.
The inventor or the guy, I think it's called Jason. I forgot the first name. Yeah. So they're, the QTP Quick Test Pro is open. It's very expensive. So he came up with a Selenium idea, and it's open source, and he want to compete with them. And he posed the Selenium as in the article table because let's say you have the mercury toxic, what they call it, the Selenium is only cure to that. So it's like a rivalry, like he said. Just some interesting fact. I threw the React in my topic title. So So I figured, I need to talk about this React first in my first code slide. So I used the WebDriver I/O. Just recently they came out with this React selectors. Not that useful in my opinion. The reason is still, at the end of the day, I still need I still dealing with the generated CSS DOM elements and JavaScript. React, they have this intermediate step, or they call it virtual DOM, so it's kind of like a memory thing. So only if there's they'll do this diff, I think that's how it works at high level. They're doing this diff. If there's a data change, then they're going to render the real DOM object or elements. So now the latest version is 5. So I think it was last year around Christmas or December, they finally released this V5, the version 5. I'm still on the V4. I'll tell you the reason later. So you can do something like this, provided you know what's the item component called. So then you get your selector. You got the prop. When you're dealing with React, you have the prop. You pass the prop to the component. Then you have the state. So in this case, it seems like it's just a label or text. Then you pass that to this the browser, the selector. Then you can do something. You can, So this is an example. So this is like a test. So you got your component. You initialize the component. Then you do the assertion, expect. So if the component is displayed, I think, so meaning the element is, the DOM element show up, visible in the DOM tree, in the UI to be true. It's just like expecting. So that means that the components are rendered. So another one is, because you remember you can pass in component. I think second one is prop. In this case, it's empty, but you have the state, which is I think the application is once you enter your name, if it's let's say if it's equals to WebDriver I/O, then it will just greet you with the name. Otherwise, it will just say, "Hi there, how are you?" Concatenate with this state. So this is your, and this is you got the my component as a DOM object, DOM element. Then you call the get text function method to get the text or the inner HTML from it. So I'll show you. So this is our app. As you can see, there's like rows. Those are the divs, but you can. It's like pretty much HTML table row tr. Then you right-click on that. We disable the default right-click. So default click would be. I'm talking too slow, I guess. So we disable the right-click. So right now, if I'm click this, nothing here. I click this box and I do right-click. This is the context menu. So the default remove the default. So, but if you click here, let's say right click here, you got the usual default context menu, where you usually can print, save as, all that. So this is our app. I was kind of surprised to when I first joined the company, because I remember nobody doing right click, nobody doing context menu as far as I know. but for of course for our app, this is for the scientists. They track their lab experiment process. So we have a lot of functionalities. We have a lot of features. If you just line them up as like a drop down, they're probably going to be overwhelming or crowded, real estate wise. So I think that's the design. That's the design decision they make. So this is a right click. So I talk about for WebDriver I/O, the tool I'm using. I'm still using 4. The latest is 5. So does anybody know? This is the second question. Does anybody know what's the method or function that you can call to get access to make this context menu show?
Oh, we have an answer.
Switch frame?
No, because we're not talking about switch. We're not switching frame, right? We just want to do this action. You mouse over to an element, you do right click.
Second guess, yeah.
Is it switch?
In version 4, not 5, not the latest.
Just a guess. Switch context?
No, there's no switching context.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you probably thinking about switching to the context menu. Okay. Anybody else?
I would say great guess. I would have guessed partial credit. Anyone else? Anyone else?
It's very simple. It's called.
You want to run it again?
Click.
Hermione Granger in the front. Hermione Granger, go ahead.
Right click, capital C.
No, it's already-
That's it. That's V4.
I love it.
So of course
Great try,
the
great try.
implementation is is a little more complicated than that. But that's V4. That's what I still stay on version 4, like mentioned before. Because in the V5, for some reason, that Christian, the project owner, decided not to make the right click as a built-in embedded native method. So this is the V5.
That's only a WebDriver I/O, or it's in Selenium, like no clients?
This is WebDriver I/O.
WebDriver
Yeah.
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
No, I was asking if this is only the right-click method. It's only available on WebDriver
Yeah,
I/O
it's
or
in
in general.
It's the WebDriver I/O implementation of the right-click mouse event for the WebDriver protocol. Yeah, if that makes sense.
Thanks for that.
So this is in version 4. You see how complicated it is. So you have to get. So we're talking about this. So can I? So my goal, my step is I need to right click on this row. So I try to get, testing those, right? In order to that, I have to do mouse over and do right click. So in V4 just dot right click, but in V5 I have to get the X, Y coordinates of that element, that row, that table row or diff, then call the perform actions. So what do you need to pass? So you pass in an array, and type is pointer, meaning mouse, and ID is whatever you can give a name. Actions meaning the right click action. So type is pointer move. You remember, because people don't think about this. Right click, you have to have your context. Like if you just if your mouse is here, you do right click, it's not gonna be the same like somewhere somewhere in the web page over there. So you have to first right-click, unless you just right there. Then you have to do this pointer move. So you have to move to this X and Y. I believe that's the upper left corner of that row, table row. Then do the pointer down. Press which button? So right click. You remember the mouse used to be like 3 buttons, but this is the I believe left click is 1, the right click is 2, button 2. So right click. And also if you want to do the if you want to do those like a shift click, those the key combinations, is quite complicated. I think I can. So I'm doing I'm uploading a file. So we have this feature. So so it brings up this, right? So one of my tests is I need to select only, let's say, this area. So that requires me to do holding down the shift and click on this table cell, TD. Yeah. So so this is the code to do that. So first you get your selectors. So this is the 14th, whatever how many rows. This is the row TR, and this is the cell, 14th cell. I need to click on that. So this is the code to use the shift key code. You set the shift, then it's like a chain. Then you kind of like move to this element. Then you do the click. That's how you accomplish that. It took me a while. It wasn't in the API doc of the WebDriver, but for some reason I got lucky. I figured this out. So and it worked. That's in the V4 though. I believe it works in V5 also, because it's just a combination of click and sending the key. So this is what I'm talking about. I need to click that's why I named my variable to be capital M17. I need to click. So this is essentially like cell. I need to click on the M column and the 17 rows. So I need to select this area. So this is the mouse over right click actions. I need that to as one of the tests, a step of my test. So you see that because we purposely hide those. There's a couple of icons over there. It won't show. Mouse is not over there. So you have to move the mouse over. Once you move the mouse over, the screenshot didn't take a screenshot of my mouse, but when you mouse over that, then those icons would show. So the code for that is we use in WebDriver.io. There's a .execute function. Basically, you can do the JavaScript. So this is pretty much I think it's jQuery. So you have your element, $element and .trigger, and just pass in the you know, sorry. Then you first mouse over, then you do the move to object. That's how you achieve the, you mouse over, then the icon will show. So as I showed you earlier, so this is the limitation of the Selenium or WebDriver. So in our app, you see this icon here. This is a file upload. So once you click on this, they bring up this prompt of the file system. So this is where the Selenium stop. It can now continue. But without that, you cannot bring up this. Only after you manually, the user, only after the user select the file and click open, this would show. So how am I going to solve this? So I need to automate this, or otherwise it will be a candidate for cannot be automated. So this is the code before in v4. Yeah, this is all v4 version 4. So you can just there's a method called choose file. Then you pass in the CSS selector. Then you pass in the local file pass to your local file, whatever the file you want to upload. Then again you execute this, which is I believe it's a jQuery, whatever. So basically it was hidden. The attribute was hidden, or the class was hidden. Then you just change the style to be block. Once you set to block, then they'll become visible. Then after that, once you wait a little bit for it to be visible, then you just set the value, meaning it's just like you're typing the file path. And there's a new way for the v5 version. I think I'm just going to run this. So this is v5, by the way. So first, this is our login. So login. Then navigate to the page. Then notice there's no clicking, because after that you can continue. So kind of like a hack. So notice this. It wasn't shown there. It wasn't there before. So that execute. That execute. That's the code to make that upload visible. So sorry. So moving on, I'm kind of slow. Okay, so autocomplete. Again, we have a search, the search dropdown, like here. So you mouse over, then you search for, let's say, water. So you have dropdown. So I had so much problem with this because the way that we implement that, it just, I tried everything. It just, it couldn't work consistently. It's on and off. Sometimes it works, sometimes it not. Then I found a way, like actually my boss suggests a way to, like you type out the keyword, then you do arrow left. Then notice the it will reload the list. So somehow, for some reason, this method seems like been working for the most of the time, not 100% still. But anyway, so that's you see the arrow left, arrow right business, and hit enter. So that's how I solved that step. And also, someone mentioned the switching to a new browser tab, because our app, like you starting from here, library, then you double click, and then it's gonna open in a new tab. We call this process or design view. Then if you go to the experiment, then it's gonna open in another tab. So in order to switch between tabs, so it's index based. I believe the one you're on to originate with, that's index 0, and the second one would be the 1, and the third one would be 2. So it's 0-based index. So this is how you switch tabs. This is in the V4. And thank you all. Sorry, I'm taking too much of the time. Let me do Q&A.
A round of applause. Yes. We are a little over on time. That's okay. We do have time for a quick question. Keep in mind, again, we do have networking allotted after, so you can ask those questions then. But does anyone have a top-of-mind question that they wanted to ask? Yeah. And again, we'll have more questions during networking.
Yeah, our QA department was asking me some questions. I'm just a React developer, and one of the problems they have is that they don't know when React is finished rendering a page. Do you have any pointers or hints you could give a QA automation engineer to kind of figure out when the components have stopped rendering or stopped? Yeah, does that make sense? It's kind of like a different.
I've been struggling. I think everybody's struggling with that. It's still. I don't see any other better, efficient, always work way to solve this. It's still just so. Before I have this like a customized command, so I wait for the element to be visible and to be enabled. So because sometimes the elements show up, but it's grayed out, so it's not interactable. So that's how I solve that. As a custom command is then I have for that. Then in the new V5, I think they drastically improved that. So it just you don't need to do all those things. There's only it's called wait for display. So if that pass and that returns promise whatever, then almost guarantee that it's rendered.
But wait for display is still only waiting for an element within the DOM. It's not waiting for a value. So in other words, if I have to wait for a value and I have a laggy service, I have no way of knowing.
But your value is it's kind of the label of that component, though. So if the components show up,
if you do it that way.
yeah, yeah. So you have the get text, get text. That's corresponding to if you do if you open up the dev tool, you do the the element, the jQuery thing, then you dot text parentheses. That's if there's a text label on that element. If it's sometimes it's a value, so you have the value of the attribute. Then for that you just selector dot val parentheses. That's how I determine which method should I use. If it's a get text or get value.
One more question?
The great presentation. I wanted to ask you the last, second last of your slide, which had H2O, which was it's like a chemistry oxide, hydrogen oxide. Can you expand on that?
Which one? Second?
The second last of your slide, which is a hydrogen oxide, hydrogen, H2O, water.
I think it might have been a little bit earlier. The water.
Yeah, the water, the last slide you had, last or,
Before that?
yeah, you had something to do with the water. No, that's too, yeah. Just the last one.
Last one? What do you mean, last one?
You had something to do with the water, H2O.
Yeah, I think that was when he exited his presentation and you went in.
Yeah, it
Oh,
was,
you mean the search? Yeah, autocomplete, you mean, so this, right?
yeah.
So this is just like an
So let's see,
autocomplete.
water, you have the oxygen hydride, right? So it's like a H2O, which will be like a hydroxide. Well,
No. I love
yeah.
this question. Go ahead.
Okay. I don't
Well,
answer the
maybe
question.
this sounds like a great question. We found a.
Are you fun about it?
I love this, and so remember
Sure.
again, we do have Wi-Fi after. Y'all are more than happy to network and continue this conversation because I think this is a great point. Can I please get another round of applause for our presenter? Takes a lot to come up here. Yes.